Everybody, my name is Cliff Horn. I'm a public information officer here at TRSL. And today we are going to be going over TRSL's early career workshop. New technical, hold on. There we go. I just want to give you guys a couple of friendly reminders about today's presentation. It's going to be a lot of general information about the TRSL system itself. If you'd like detailed, if you have detailed questions and you want more information, we always recommend going to TRSL's website at trsl.org. All of you will be muted today, so you don't have to worry about any interruptions on anything. If you do have a question, we'd ask that you type them not in the chat box, but in the Q&A section. There we'll be able to see them and answer your questions. With me today is the other public information officer here today, and that is Miss Jerry Mack. She's going to be in the background. Jerry, if you want to say hi to everybody real quick.
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well.
Great. Jerry will be in the background. She's going to be in the chat box, dropping some links to some things that we're going to be talking about, as well as she'll be in the Q&A section answering some questions. Now, some of your questions may be a little more detailed than what we have time to look for today. If you have a question that is more specific about your time at this agency or your sick leave count at this one, those are things that we unfortunately don't have time for today to be able to look up. So we'd ask any of those questions about your personal information, send them over to us by going to Ask TRSL, and that's asktrsl.org. In there, you'll be able to type in your question that you have, send it over to us, and then our staff will get back to you with an email to answer that question for you. We are recording today's workshop. It is available with its handout, available on the TRSL website at trsl.org/members/webinars. There you can see this workshop and all the other ones we've done in the past year. The agenda we're going to have today, what we're going to cover, we're going to be talking about the types of TRSL retirement plans. We'll be talking about how we calculate your retirement benefit. We'll talk about your eligibility. When can you retire, or when are you eligible to retire? We'll talk a little bit about purchasing and transfers of service credit from other agencies or other states. We'll talk about your other TRSL benefits that you have that you may not be aware of. We'll talk about what happens if you withdraw your contributions, community property, and a little bit about Social Security. And then we're going to wrap up today talking about member access and a little overview on the TRSL website of where you can find certain information. So TRSL, what exactly is it? We are a public trust fund established in 1936 as a defined benefit plan. That is, it is based on a math formula, not on the contributions. A 401 would be based on contributions. We are based on just this math formula. We are also the largest public retirement system here in Louisiana. And my favorite PowerPoint slide, the point on this slide and on any slide that we have, our benefits are guaranteed by the state constitution, meaning the funds that we have in our account are only to be used for TRSL. It can't be used to pave a new road or add an extra level to some football stadium. It has to stay here in the TRSL system. We are divided into actually 3 plans, but the 2 that we talk about for retirement are regular plan and Plan B. 90% of you here today, or probably 95 or 99% of you here today, I haven't gotten a chance to look, are probably going to fall into our regular plan. Those are most of our members who are teachers, admin, support staff, and university personnel. The other program we have is called Plan B. Those are food service workers in about 20 parishes here in Louisiana that also contribute to Social Security. If you're in one of those, you can follow along with our workshop today, but there are some other key differences with Plan B that we'd recommend contacting us to talk to you about your retirement. But today we're going to focus on the regular plan. We fund the retirement benefit based on a couple of things. Hopefully you've noticed in your paycheck, we take 8% if you are a regular plan member, or 5% if you are a food service worker in one of those parishes. Take out 5% out of those. That money you contribute to us. It is not like a 401 where that's contributions are put in and the investment gets you the benefit. It is based on you are required by law to turn in that money to us. The school system also pays anywhere from 24 to 27%, depending on what type of agency they are, K through 12, higher ed, or other state agency. We take all of those funds that you've put in, plus what the school has put in, we invest all of those funds. Those investments are the return on that investment is what we use to pay out the retirement benefits. And these are lifetime benefits. And that's what makes us different than a 401. A 401 means you get whatever money you put into the system, plus hopefully if it's earned any interest. We are a set dollar amount based on a math formula. You get that every month for the rest of your life. The calculation for the retirement benefit is based on 3 factors. It's a simple math formula. It simply says, how much service credit do you have in the system? Those are years that you have been paying in that 8% into TRSL count as service credit. That is then multiplied by the FAC. FAC, final average compensation, fancy way of saying what is your monthly average salary. It's either going to be based on a 3-year average or a 5-year average, depending on when you came into the system. Those of you who came in prior to 2011, it's going to be a 3-year average. Those of you who came in after 2011, it is a 5-year average. Those 2 things are then multiplied by a benefit factor. This is simply a math number that the state set. It's either going to be 2 or 2.5%, depending on when you came into the system. Those 3 things multiplied together give us your maximum TRSL benefit. That is the most money that we can pay out to you as a retirement benefit every month for the rest of your life. Again, it's not about contributions. It's not about what's left in the account. It is a lifetime benefit. Now, how do we earn this service credit? Like I said, it's based on the amount of time that you work and contribute to the TRSL system. What we look at is a year of employment from July 1st until June 30th is a year, and you can earn up to 1 year of service credit. Some of you say, well, maybe I worked a little extra or I worked a second job in the TRSL system. It's great. That goes towards your salary, but not towards service credit. We can only give you up to a year worth of service credit for a year of employment. Also, to let you know, we round to the 10th place when we get to your retirement eligibility. Meaning, if you're looking for that 25 years of retirement in order of service credit in order to retire, and you've got 24.95, well, that rounds up to 25 years of service. If you have 24.94 years of service or 0.3 years of service, those are less. Doesn't round up. It means you got to come back to work for about 3 or 4 more days or a week or so in order to get that service credit up to where you can get that rounded to the 10th place. The FAC, the final average compensation. Like I said, fancy way of saying what is your monthly average. For those of you who started prior to January 1st, 2011, it's a 3-year average. It's based on your 3 highest consecutive years in your career. Most people think, well, it's my last 3. Well, it may be, or it may not be. So if you started here, and then by the end of your career, you're up here, then yes. But some of you may be a little different. Some of you may have started as a teacher, moved up to an assistant principal, and you're teaching again. Where's that highest salary? It was back when you were the assistant principal. We're always going to use the 3 highest consecutive wherever they are in your career. For those of you like myself who came in on or after January 1st, 2011, it is going to be based on your 5 highest consecutive years. So wherever it is in your career, the 5 years consecutively, they do an average, and that's going to be your monthly salary. You'll notice there's a couple of things extra on this slide. It shows a salary cap based on state law. The salary cap says from 1 year to the next, we can't have an increase greater than 10% for the first group, 15% for the second group. What that means for you is If you get a salary raise greater than, let's say 12% increase, it's great. You're going to get that salary, that 12% increase. But for us calculating your average salary, we can only go up to a 10% average if you're in that first group, or a 15% from the one year to the next if you're in our group who started on or after January 1st. Now, when any state makes a law like this, they also have to make exceptions to the law. And the exception is that if there is an increase given by a legislative act, so an increase because the state says, or if it's a city, parish, or university increase, in other words, a system-wide increase, then those are also exempt from those. You'll also notice that there's a 25% limit on salary increases for 12 months during a classroom teacher. If you're a classroom teacher and you move from one school system to another, and that school system gives you a pay increase of 25%, then we have to follow that other guideline. Most of us are not going to fall into that category. The benefit factor. It's a number set by the state. It's either 2 or 2.5%, depending on when you started in the system. Those of you who started work prior to July 1st, 1999, it's 2 or 2.5%, depending on how old you are and how much service credit you have. For those of you who came in after July 1st, 1999, it is 2.5% across the board. And for those of you in Plan B, the food service workers, those are going to be 2% across the board, no matter when you started in the system. Now let's talk about your eligibility. Cliff, when am I eligible to retire? Because you are a new employee coming to look at this workshop, we're going to talk about the two newest eligibilities. And that is a regular plan member. If you started between January 1st, 2011 and 6/30/2015, your eligibilities, you have two of them. And those are at least age 60 with 5 years of service credit, or 20 years of service credit at any age, actuarially reduced. Now, what does that actuarial reduction means? Well, it's 20 years at any age is what we refer to as early retirement. Taking an early retirement before the age of 60, you have that ability to do that, and it is going to be at the 2.5% when we're doing that. But there's going to be a reduction that happens based on the number of years you are away from age 60. So if you are 1 year, you're 59, you're 1 year away, there's a small reduction. If you are 55, there's 5 years. That means there's a bigger reduction that happens for that one. Each one of you is going to be different depending on if you take the 20 years any age based on the age that you turn 60. This is a permanent reduction in that benefit. So you can't be thinking, well, if I'm 20 at any age and I retire then when I turn 60, it goes back to normal. No, it's that reduction for the rest of your life. For those of you who started on or after July 1st, 2015, they've made one change to the system. And that is age 62 is now the required age. So age 62 with at least 5 years eligible to retire, or 20 years at any age, early retirement, but actually reduced based on the age away from age 62. So you just need to be aware of those as you are going. When you're looking at these, and we're going to talk about this in a little while, the calculator on Member Access will automatically know which group you're going to be in and when you're eligible. So you can plug in those numbers to see. You do not have to go or retire on that time. We are just looking to check both of those boxes of at least age 60 with at least 5 years of service, or at least 20 years of service at any age, not yet age 60. Or 62, depending on which group you fall into. So you just have to meet the requirements. You can keep going and go farther, but we just need to be aware of that, is when you're eligible to retire, you can if you want. Some of you may have some other time from other agencies, or you worked here at TRSL, left, and now you've come back. But when you left, you didn't leave your funds in the system, you took a refund. You can put those funds back into the service. If you worked at another state agency here in Louisiana, you can move that time over to us. If you have public school in another state, you may move that time over to us as well. There is a cost involved. You do have to move funds over to us, and we will do those calculations for you. But you have to do this. It's better to do it sooner rather than later, because we need to have those funds plus the interest it could have earned had it been with us the whole time. So if you're thinking, well, Cliff, I've got 5 years from the 80s when I was working for TRSL, and I left, and now I've come back and I've been working 20 years. Should I go ahead and add those years from the 80s back into us? Just so you understand, it is the amount that you took out plus the interest up to today's date. So the price does get expensive the longer you wait. It is much better if you are a new employee and you have time from other agencies, move it over now as a new employee than waiting until you get closer to your retirement eligibility, because the cost does go up based on that interest it could have earned had it been with us. We also have the ability to move military service time over to us. If you are not using it to collect a military retirement, you can move up to 4 years over to us. With the other eligibilities, refunded service credit, other public institutions in other states or other agencies here in Louisiana, all of those you may move however much time you have with them. There is no limit on what you can. Military is the only one that only allows up to 4 years of service to be moved. All of these times that you want to move over to us, purchases, you'll need to submit a non-refundable calculation fee that goes to an outside accountant who does those calculations. If you are looking at doing refunded service credit, you were with TRSL and now you want to put it back into the system, or military USERRA service credit time, all of those have no fee for moving those, or fee for doing that calculation. The outside actuarial accountant accounts for the money you moved over plus the interest. Like I said, it's better to move it sooner rather than later. Refunded service credit, if you want to move any of that, you can move over some of it or all of it. It's completely up to you. There is a form 3-9 to fill out to have that submitted over to us. Always know that anytime that you want to add service credit, move service credit from other agencies or other places, you must do that and have it completed before you go and turn in your retirement application. Those times that you want to move over, like I said, there's tons of different ones that you can make over for us. Leave of absence, sabbatical, substitute teaching service, state employment, out of state public. If you have a non-public school here in Louisiana, a charter school that didn't contribute, or a private school here in Louisiana, you can move that time over to us as well. Or if you are a U.S. dependent teaching in another country, that also can be moved over to us as well. Other benefits that you can get from TRSL: by having at least 5 years in the system, you are vested. That is the starting, making you eligible for other types of benefits. Those would be survivor benefits. If you are working as an employee and pass away, your money doesn't just go away. We don't get to keep it. We will pay out survivor benefits to your spouse and minor children. We also have deferred retirement, meaning you're eligible to have at least 5 years in, but not yet met the age requirement. You could terminate employment, leave your funds in the system, and then when you reached age 60, turn in your paperwork to retire, not to come back and get a job, but just to retire, and then you get that benefit. Disability retirement means you're no longer able to perform your job because of a condition. For those members who were hired after January 11th, 2011, it is a 10-year service credit requirement to be vested for disability retirement. Now, I am a TRSL employee. I have years in the system, but I've decided I don't want to stick around and wait for that retirement benefit. I don't want to defer on this. I can withdraw my member contributions when I want, after I've terminated employment. There is a 90-day waiting period after your last day of employment before we can take the paperwork to do a refund of your contributions. It only allows your contributions, and it's the entirety of it. You can't take a partial. You also can't borrow against it and leave it in the system. You have to take it out. But by taking it out, you are subject to federal tax withholding if it's not rolled over to a financial institution like an IRA or a 401. So take a refund if you're interested in that. It's a Form 7 application for a refund available on the website at trsl.org. One other thing I do want to make mention for you is the Social Security offsets. Louisiana is one of, I think, 11 states that don't pay into Social Security for the majority of its public employees. You still may be eligible for Social Security benefits if you did something outside of us paying in the private sector where you contributed to Social Security. But do know that you will be subject to a Social Security offset. In other words, a reduction of Social Security benefits once you retire from TRSL and start collecting a TRSL retirement check. There are two offsets. One is called GPO, Government Pension Offset. That's for spousal benefits if you're getting a spousal check or a widower's benefit, or the windfall elimination provision if you worked in the private sector like I did. I'm eligible to receive a Social Security benefit, but once I start collecting a TRSL retirement check, I am then subject to a windfall elimination provision, WEP, and that's a reduction of the Social Security benefits. In no way does the TRSL benefit get reduced because of Social Security. Social Security, the federal law is an offset, a reduction of Social Security because you're getting a benefit from a state where you did not contribute to the Social Security benefit for that retirement benefit. In summary, for all of this, before we get into the TRSL webpage itself, we are a defined benefit plan, which guarantees you a benefit based on this formula, not on contributions, a lifetime benefit paid out to you every month for the rest of your life. And then when you pass away, there may be something that an amount goes to your beneficiaries, or a estate, or a lifetime benefit. If you're looking at purchasing transfer of time that you may have had with other agencies to increase your TRSL benefit, you want to consider, again, doing that earlier rather than later. And we always want to make sure that you know that being vested means 5 years of service credit in TRSL, paying into TRSL, not 5 calendar years, or those. We're looking at years of service credit. So always check that out in your TRSL member access page. Matter of fact, let's take a quick look at the TRSL member access page. With it, there's a lot of little details that you can do in there. You can do estimates, looking at whether can I retire this year, next year, or do I have to wait 5 years, whatever it may be. We can also do some updating of some of our information, and that's your name, mailing address, or email address. You can also apply for retirement or drop from the member access, as well as view drop accounts. Check out your beneficiaries, make sure they're up to date, and also look at annual statements of your service credit history. Every year we update those on June 30th. So then it gets updated in the system, and then you get a notice by August about the new updates. So where do you go to member access? This is what currently our TRSL website looks like, because we are in the process of revamping it. But on the TRSL website, trsl.org, upper right-hand corner, you'll see a little button over there that says member access. By clicking on this button, you will go into our member access section, which is our secured side of the TRSL website. Here you will type in your, for existing users, your user ID that you created and a password that you created, and you'll be able to access your TRSL benefit. If you have forgotten your password, you can use the forgot password or user ID and help it reset. Or if you've never logged into TRSL's member access before, in the lower left-hand corner, there's a little thing that says register for access. And then you can log in through asking a series of questions about you, your employment history, date of birth, and things like that. You'll be able to create an account. We recommend doing that sooner rather than later. So as a new employee, that's one of the first things you should be doing, besides all of those mandatory trainings that your school makes you do. also register for your member access. While in member access, the page will pop up and show you what you can do as an active member. With that, you can look at your all your account information, your sick leave, your service credit, all of those things. And then also through the self-service, changing any names, mailing addresses, or emails, or even applying for your retirement. While in there, you can look at your employment summary. It's going to show you a snapshot from the end of the school year, June 30th, what your account looks like. In other words, how much service credit you have, how much contributions you've put into the system, and your eligibility of when you're eligible to either go into drop or retire if you so choose. Also, to let you know, any of the information we talked about today is available online, like the forms. The forms are, all of them are PDFs on our website. We cannot accept electronic signatures on these forms. So if there's any time that it requires a signature, you'll have to sign it, then scan it back into the system. But most of them can be sent by email. You can email them over to the webmaster, or you can mail them or fax them to us. Or if you happen to be in the neighborhood, drop them off. The forms page allows you to go in and look at our forms by one of two categories, either by number or by subject. That way you can look and see what they're going to be. So if you want to know drop, here are all the forms about drop. I want to look at retirement, here are all the forms about that. Or if I'm looking to make a purchase of service credit from a public school or a private school, or refunded time, all of those are available on the form section of the website. All of our publications, I know Jerry's been dropping some of them in the background for you. All of our brochures and our newsletters are available online. You can get those at any time from our publications page. All of the webinars, like I mentioned, trsl.org/members/webinars allows you to go in and look at all of the webinar recordings that we've done. There you can watch them or download the PDF of the slides to review any of that information. Also, if you want to look at a live one like you're doing right now, it is also available to see what events are available coming up. There will be a new spring launch of our webinar series a little bit later. I think in the next few weeks, we will have notice of all of our next spring webinars that we'll be doing after the Christmas holidays. Things you can do now as a new member. Making sure you've registered for member access. That shouldn't take more than about 5 minutes or so. If you've forgotten your password, it takes about 5 minutes to reset it. In submitting important documents, and those are copies of Social Security card and birth certificates, divorce decrees, community property settlements, all of those, we need copies of those materials sent to us. I know you're like, well, Cliff, I'm like 10 years away from retirement. That's fine. Go ahead and get a jump on your information by sending us over those copies of the Social Security cards and birth certificates and sending them over to us. Making sure you've also checked on your beneficiary. I don't know how many of my friends who are teachers that I've talked to, and they're in their 25th, 30th year. And I'm old, that's why I can say 25 and 30 years. In that working in the system, and then they finally checked their beneficiary and they realized when they started work 25 years ago, they weren't married. So they listed their parents as their beneficiaries, not their husband, not their wives, and they don't have their children listed. And they've had like 2 or 3 kids since then. Making sure your beneficiaries are up to date on there. Also, getting an estimate of your retirement benefit. Looking at those eligibilities, when can I retire, and getting an idea of what kind of funds can you expect when you do retire. All of this information, the brochures, the forms, the newsletters, the webinar you're watching right now, all of those are available on our website at trsl.org. In there, you'll be able to go in and get just a huge amount of information. And you can also contact us with any questions that you may have about your information. Now, I know Jerry has been very quickly answering questions in the background. So Jerry, is there anything you want to share with us as we go here?
Cliff, we had a couple of questions about people who've been following the news about Social Security. Can you please share a little bit of that information in general and the legislation?
All right. I knew this was going to be coming up because I am also watching that. It is the federal government has done these offsets. It is not the state. So the federal government is looking at making changes to the offset programs. There is something called the 2020, I think it's called the 2024 Social Security Fairness Act. It's very similar to the 2023 Social Security Fairness Act. And it is a look at eliminating WEP and GPO offsets. It is still sitting in Congress. They have until the end of this session, which is coming up right before Christmas, to vote on whether they're going to pass this bill or not. If they do not vote on it, it is dead. And then a new one has to be submitted, which will probably be the 2025 Social Security Fairness Act. This is the closest that we've ever gotten this bill to the House, to Congress, to get them to look at making these adjustments, which is always good to see that information going around. If you are interested in asking, seeing about where those bills are, we do always recommend talking to your federal legislative body, contacting your senators, the people who are in the House for you, those people, and reminding them, who you are and, of voting age, reminding them about what this would do to help you along. So always you can send out that information. Jer, is there anything else you want to mention?
Well, I think that's going to do it. I just let everybody know the link to our publications and the link to our webinars that are recorded.
Perfect. New buttons to press. All right. So just want to make a reminder of you guys, if you have any questions later, you're like, Cliff, Jerry, you guys answered all our questions in this chat. And I'm not sure about some things, but I'm going to go have dinner with my family or with a spouse. And I know they're going to ask me questions. What can I do to get in touch with you? So you can contact TRSL Monday through Friday during normal business hours, 8 to 4:30. Unfortunately, we've just run out of time here. We're at 4:30 here, which means they've closed up the phone lines for the evening. You can leave them a message on there. We always recommend a great way to get a hold of someone or to ask those questions is to go to our website at asktrsl.org. Type in your name, your contact information, and your question, and they normally get back to you in about 2 hours. Now, it's the end of the day, so it's going to be tomorrow morning before they answer those questions, but they will answer those questions for you rather quickly. We also want to make note of a couple of social media things. We are on Facebook and on X or Twitter, whatever you'd like to call it. I also want to make mention that all of our videos that we have are available on our YouTube channel. So if you search out TRSL online on YouTube, you will get access to all of our videos that we have, not just our workshops, but some other short form videos talking about some other things about your retirement. So with that, I just want to say thank you guys so much for hanging out with us a little bit this afternoon, getting a peek into your retirement. We appreciate all that you do and hope that we've been able to shed some light on some key things about your retirement. So with that, I'm going to close this out and say thank you guys so much for coming out, and we look forward to seeing you again at our next workshop. So thanks so much and take care.